This boy's name is Rio. He lost everything in the apocalypse. His sister died in his arms. To make it worse, a monster took her and devoured her right before his eyes. He could only watch, unable to do anything. Rio was just a weak boy. When he tried to fight back, he was sliced apart by its claws, as the monster in front of him said he was nothing but trash. And so, Rio was impaled alive, suffering. He remembered the past with his sister, but that was all gone. When the apocalypse began, he should have trained to become stronger, but he was worthless. Rio had no hope, but then a system appeared, telling him he would return 5 years to the past, before everything began. While others chase money, he knows the world is going to be destroyed. But now, Rio has a stolen system. Even with the most useless class, he can awaken sacred domains and train before everyone else. Now, when the world collapses, he will already have a domain impossible to surpass. His eyes wide and breaking into a cold sweat, he realizes he truly has returned 5 years into the past. Running desperately through the city streets, the young man screams Koyuki's name as loud as he can. Looking at the nearby buildings, the sunlight reveals a very calm city. Arriving in his sister's room, he finds her lying in bed and breathes a sigh of relief that she's alive. Sitting there beside the bed, he's finally convinced that none of it was a dream. Staring at a fixed point in the dark room, his left eye begins to glow intensely. Looking at the digital calendar, he confirms it's April 21st and that Koyuki is already infected. Gripping the device tightly, he laments not having returned a month earlier to prevent the infection. Suddenly, a blue holographic screen starts displaying several messages in front of his face. Backing away and getting into a defensive stance, the boy asks aloud, "Who is there?" Reading the notice in front of him, he discovers it's a leveling up system. He quickly looks up, asking aloud what is happening right now. The screen then informs him that he needs to reach the maximum level to save all of humanity. Sweating, he retorts that a guy with no powers could never save planet Earth. But the notice changes, informing him that his powers have been unlocked and he'll have to fend for himself. His eyes widening, the young man yells, asking what exactly that panel is trying to say. Before he can do anything, the system announces a teleportation, telling the boy to prepare for the trip. As several bands wrap around his body, he raises a hand, asking the system to wait. Nearby on the bed, the girl whispers for her older brother, her eyes only slightly open. Shifting to a forest, the boy plummets from the sky, screaming as he falls through the trees. Falling face first onto the grassy ground, he grunts in pain, wondering where he ended up. The floating screen then informs him that this is a starting zone to test his abilities. Getting up quickly, the boy yells that he just wants to protect Koyuki from this situation. The system then reveals that there are ingredients scattered around to create an antidote for the domain's poison. His eyes go wide as he questions the cure, remembering the countless deaths in his past. Still standing there, he wonders if leveling up will really be enough to save his little sister. In this world, areas known as domains act as barriers that freeze time. Though their size varies greatly, the structures and terrain within them never change. But everything changes when magical beasts and mutant creatures infest the area at night. Because of the constant poison, only the awakened with specific antibodies can enter these regions. Standing in the forest, he wonders if he's truly become one of the awakened, and what his power might be. He then complains that the system told him to figure everything out on his own, and face magical beasts now. If he can clear the domains, scattered ingredients can be used to create an antidote that saves people. Showing his resolve, he decides he'll fight, even without knowing what's coming. Suddenly, claw marks appear on the plants, as a strange noise echoes through the dense woods. Looking around, he wonders what that strange noise was, coming from the bushes. Noticing a strange movement, he realizes something is coming from the thicket up ahead. Soon, a large creature appears among the bushes, its back to the path. Staring ahead, he questions what that creature that suddenly appeared could be. The creature then looks to the side, showing complete indifference to the young man watching it. His eyes widen as he asks if that's really just a capybara in the middle of the domain. Covering his face, he says he thought it was a magical beast and got scared. As he watches the animal, he comments that a peaceful creature shouldn't be eating so calmly here. Suddenly, he notices something strange and focuses his gaze on the still animal. The view shifts, revealing the capybara biting a dead animal lying in the undergrowth. His mouth agape, he asks if capybaras aren't supposed to be herbivores. Staring at the beast up close, he wonders if it's a carnivorous mutant creature. Apologizing for interrupting dinner, he starts backing away very slowly. He then says he's leaving so he won't bother the animal anymore. Turning his back quickly, he decides he needs to run away from there as fast as possible. Remaining in the same spot, the capybara just watches the young man flee through the dense woods. As he runs, he affirms that any creature can mutate inside a domain. His foot slams down hard, and he trips on something hidden on the forest floor. Because of the stumble, he tumbles down the slope through bushes and dry branches. Trying to get up quickly, he says he can't be found by anyone there. Suddenly, huge claws appear, stepping on and breaking branches near where he fell. Looking back, he wonders if the beast actually managed to catch up to him. He remains on high alert, trying to identify where that strange noise is coming from. Near his feet, he spots a fallen tree branch that looks quite sharp. Without wasting time, he grabs the piece of wood to use as a makeshift weapon. Holding it tightly, he warns that he'll shove the branch into the head of whatever comes near. As he braces himself, a blur rushes past behind the plants at high speed. Turning his body, he points the tip of the wood toward where he heard the movement. Unexpectedly, the beast leaps from a completely different direction than he anticipated. He then complains that he thought the attack would come from the left side. Screaming in pain, he's bitten by the beast, which sinks its teeth into his leg. Surprised to see two creatures, he curses, realizing there are two of them. Charging straight at him, one of them bites his arm hard, drawing blood. Meanwhile, the other one takes the opportunity and bites deep into his leg, injuring him. Desperately trying to fight off the monsters, he yells that they're going to bite him to death. Looking around in a panic, he desperately searches for something to get them off. Stretching out his hand with difficulty, he manages to grab a thick branch on the ground. Pulling with all his might, he tries to push the creature off his leg. Suddenly, the branch he was holding whips powerfully up into the air. Using the motion of the broken branch, he manages to trap the creature on his leg. With the creature pinned by the branch, the other one lets go of his arm and retreats. Trapped by branches high up, the monsters are left suspended as the guy watches from the ground. Staring intently at the strange scene, he asks himself what the hell is going on. Then, roots slam the monsters with full force against the ground as he watches from a distance. Getting up quickly and holding his injured arm, he declares that this is his chance. After finding a sharp piece of wood on the ground, he holds the object firmly. Opening his mouth in a yell, he raises the log with his hands to attack. Before him lie the two mutant creatures, slain in the middle of the forest. Taking a deep breath, he assures himself that he's finally safe. Recalling the fight, he notes that he managed to defeat the beasts on his own. Just then, he realizes he now fully understands his true power. A notification appears before him, indicating that sensory control has been unlocked. Looking at the screen, he wonders aloud about the meaning of this control. While others awaken elemental or physical gifts, he struggles to understand his own. Checking his arm, he admits he's never heard of this ability. A branch runs through the monster's body, showing how it was slain. After grabbing the vine, he recounts that the plant reacted on its own. Looking at the vine on the ground, he wonders if his power is to control plants or something similar. He quickly dismisses the idea, stating the system would have displayed the information differently. With this doubt in mind, he wonders if the things under his command are more broad. Speaking directly to the blue screen, he asks the system to send him back to his original world. The system then informs him that the exit will only open once the energy core is destroyed. Faced with this response, he explains that this core is usually found inside the most powerful beast. Taking a few steps back, he asks if the system wants him to die right here. Suddenly, he freezes, sensing something massive moving right behind him. Spinning around quickly, he sees an immense shadow covering the path he just came from. Then, a giant mutant capybara appears, growling loudly and revealing enormous teeth as it stares at the young man. Baring its teeth, the beast lets out a powerful roar that echoes throughout the entire forest. Facing the monster up close, he's paralyzed by the sheer size of the creature. He then questions why there's such a giant capybara in this region. With its eyes fixed on the young man, the animal shows it has no intention of letting anyone escape. Nearby are the bodies of the smaller creatures he just killed. Suspecting it's the monster's mother, he says the situation has become impossible. Opening its mouth wide again, the beast releases a deafening sound to intimidate the boy. As the beast stomps on the ground, he leaps away to avoid the blow. Cornered, he knows he'd be crushed like an insect if he got hit now. Suddenly, he notices something different and prepares to act before the attack. Just then, the vine begins to float in front of him, following his commands. Leaping toward the plant, he shouts that he's going to try using this ability now. Extending his hands, he pleads for the branch to move and help him. Then he grabs the trunk with both hands, squeezing to secure control. Quickly, the vine whips through the air, responding to the young man's sharp movements. As he holds the tip, he watches the giant beast get entangled by the vegetation on the ground. Pulling with all his might, he causes the monster to lose its balance and fall to the side. Giving into its weight, the enormous animal crashes down while trying to break free from its bonds. After the dust settles, the creature is completely trapped and down in the undergrowth. Celebrating the result, he exclaims that he finally moved the vine and talks about finding weapons. Trapped by the vines, the mutant creature's paw struggles violently violently to break free. Watching the animal's effort, he sees that the bonds are about to snap. Just then, the beast shatters the vine restraints as if they were made of paper. Seeing that the plants failed, he screams that everything went wrong and starts running. Dashing through the forest, he tries to find a safe place to hide from the attack. Suddenly, the beast attacks, causing him to lose his balance and roll hard across the ground. Thrown by the force of the impact, he slides across the grass, trying to regain control of his movements. Wiping blood from his mouth, he says the vine alone will never hold this monster. Lying in the vegetation, he realizes he needs something with much more impact to win. So he grabs another branch and plans to lure the mutant capybara deeper into the forest. Roaring loudly, the mutant beast opens its mouth as it stares at the young man in the woods. He then puts a hand on his chest, noting he still has a little time to act. He then walks away, as the monster watches his every move from behind. Moving into the dense part of the forest, various creepers and branches cover the entire path ahead. Leaning against a tree, he states that he needs to make this plan work no matter what. Meanwhile, the giant capybara lets out another scream and tries to free itself from the plants in its way. Placing his hands on the trunk, he begins to awaken his power to control the local vegetation. He then says he'll have a real chance to win if he can control all the vines there. Coughing up a lot of blood, he tries to focus so he doesn't pass out from the extreme effort. He leans back against the tree and desperately tries to make the plants move again. Facing the challenge, he begs for the branch to move and save his life. Meanwhile, the giant beast just watches from a distance, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Screaming with all his might, he ends up coughing even more blood from the immense strain on his body. Collapsing to the ground, he wonders if his body has finally reached its limit. In that hospital hallway, he remembers his sister asking for a simple drink while they waited. Inside the market, he notices the place is deserted, with no products available. After checking everywhere, he decides to look somewhere else, not wanting to disappoint his waiting sister. Then, his eyes widen as he remembers his promise to always protect his family. The scene shows the girl on the ground, telling herself she has to endure the pain so no one will worry. Looking at the situation, he says he should be the one protecting his own little sister. Finally, he clenches his fist and curses how things ended up so badly for them. Facing immense danger, she begs her brother to run away as fast as he can. Crying hard, in a final whisper, she asks her brother to try and survive, no matter what. A new phase began, with bubbles of light appearing all around. Then, with a blood-stained mouth, he promised it wouldn't happen again. Looking at the monster, he saw the immense danger, even while he was injured. Steadying his hand, he gripped a branch, showing his determination in that moment. A cry was heard in the sky, and the birds flew far away from the woods. Sensing something, he felt the forest's breath, as if it were a sign. His eyes focused as he realized he had seemingly become one with his surroundings. Now the forest seemed more vibrant, perhaps showing a new connection. Screaming in pain, the creature was attacked by roots that shot up from the ground. Fallen to the ground, the beast struggled, trapped by the immobilizing roots. Bleeding, he announced that he could escape now because of the roots. Wounding the creature, a stake struck its arm with great force. Next, another stake pierced the beast's face, right through its eye. Desperate, the beast screamed in pain, still trapped and under attack. Then, spitting up a lot of blood, the creature suffered another decisive blow. Victorious, he exclaimed that he had defeated the dangerous beast. Blood dripped onto the ground as he celebrated the victory for Koyuki. Lying on the ground, his whole body ached, and he wondered if he'd pushed himself too hard. Still, he cursed the situation, showing his deep frustration. Suddenly, a screen appeared, informing him he had repelled the giant capybara and was calculating his level. Then, another message appeared. Leveled up to 5, receiving a bonus. The bonus granted was full recovery from all damage taken. Still on the ground, he remained motionless, surrounded by bloodstains. Then his eyes opened, and he noticed a change in his own body. Getting up, he saw his wounds were disappearing quickly. He wondered if recovering damage by leveling up could save him from fatal attacks. Near the beast, a bright object, an energy crystal, was floating. Holding the crystal, he wondered if it was the core of the domain. Several crystals floated around, and he remembered they turned into items before disappearing. Suddenly, a blue cube and a sword appeared, revealing new items. Holding the weapon and the cube, he thought himself lucky that they had turned into a sword and an energy stone. He noticed a pink flower floating and wondered what it could be. It transformed into a tube with a purple liquid, revealing it was a painkiller. Then, holding the vial, he asked if he could use it for Koyuki. Koyuki was on the ground. The pain from the poison was unbearable, and there was no cure. Excited, he smiled, saying that Koyuki wouldn't suffer anymore more with this medicine. A message informed him that domains had pain organisms, calculating the levels. Another message appeared, indicating that the backpack function for items was unlocked. Confused, he asked how he was supposed to feel things from now on. Next, it warned that the domain would disappear along with the energy core. Trying to interrupt, he asked it to wait, saying his question wasn't answered. His eyes gleamed as he noticed something strange around him. Noticing a silhouette on the ground, he wondered what had happened at the impact site. Then, a large, bright blue sphere appeared in the forest sky. Appearing in the city, he wondered why he had been transferred there. Bumping into someone's shoulder, he said he needed to go home to test the medicine on Koyuki. Right behind him, a man told him to watch where he was going. His eyes glowed and he seemed confused by the situation. Running into an acquaintance, he apologized and said he was in a big hurry. The acquaintance, annoyed, shouted to everyone that the loser had told him to get out of the way. Angrily, the man questioned if he had the nerve to talk to him like that. Then, the man lunged at him, throwing a punch. Surprised, the man noticed his attack didn't land as he expected. Dodging the blow, Ryo realized his body was moving on its own. A screen displayed his status, Ryo level 5, with the skill sensory control. Facing his opponent, he's told he has some nerve dodging his attack. However, the rival warns him that his luck won't last long. His eyes widen as he realizes how fast the enemy is moving. Feeling his body become lighter, he can now react to his opponent's blows instantly. Just then, a panel appears, showing information about Ryo, his level, and his skills. Furious, the enemy screams, promising to crush the boy without mercy. The surrounding crowd stirs, commenting on the boss's fury. Suddenly, he thinks of the so-called king of the city, remembering he's heard of him before. In a flashback, he's seen injured, trembling with fear on the floor. Remembering, he sees himself terrified, his face bruised and battered in the scene. Thinking about the past, he compares the danger to monsters he's faced in domains before. Returning to the present, he faces his opponent, his eyes filled with determination. And so, the enemy lunges at him again, throwing another powerful punch. Dodging with agility, he once again avoids his adversary's direct attack. Then, he blocks the rival's fist with his hand, displaying great strength. Startled, the crowd watches the confrontation up close. Then Ryo spins his body, landing a powerful kick on his rival. Fallen on the ground, the enemy laments being defeated by Ryo. At that moment, he declares that from now on, the other man will avoid him. Staring intently, he adds that the tables have now turned. Startled, the crowd shouts for them to attack together. Meanwhile, in the same building, the situation calms down. After the fight, several men are down, knocked out all over the place. Thinking about his defeat, one of the fallen men can't comprehend his strength. Reflecting on the events, he wonders if he's the same person. Looking at himself, he's surprised he managed to win the fight. Smiling, he remarks that the enemies weren't that strong after all. After the commotion, a quiet afternoon returns to the building. Lying down, the girl looks exhausted in her bed. Sitting beside her, he calls the girl's name, showing his concern. Activating the blue panel, he brings up the control screen. With a small vial, he prepares the medicine in his hand. His face bruised, he wonders if the painkiller will work properly. Then he pours the liquid from the vial into the girl's mouth. In a cold sweat, she's still in pain but seems to feel some relief. At this, she closes her eyes, resting more peacefully. He celebrates, saying the medicine really worked. Then, he asks the system where to find the ingredients for the antidote. The system replies that the ingredients are in dangerous areas, and it's risky to go now. Thinking, he understands he needs to keep leveling up in the domains. Her face twitching, the girl seems to be waking up, still weak. He asks if she's awake, and she questions what happened. Finding the situation strange, she says her body feels weak, but the pain is gone. Relieved, he hugs her tightly, expressing his happiness at her relief. However, she asks why he's all bruised up. Seeing his injuries, her eyes widen in surprise. With his injured face, he looks startled by her reaction. Touching his bruised face, he hears her ask why he's injured. As time passes, the sun shines brightly in the blue sky. Then Koyuki questions him about awakening a power and going to a domain without telling her. With bandages on his face, he asks her not to be angry and to eat her soup. Upset, she says she didn't want him to risk so much just for painkillers. Letting out a long sigh, he gives her a serious look. He explains that ignoring the changes won't solve anything, and he needs to face them to survive. Looking at him, Koyuki is startled by her brother's change. In a flashback, she sees him saying they would hide to stay safe. She asks if he's going to stop, and he confirms he will continue to level up. She demands he promise to prioritize his safety, as he's the only family she has. Placing a hand on her, he smiles and promises to take care of himself. Thinking to himself, he decides not to tell her about the dangers of the antidote's ingredients. Asking him to feed her, She says she's weak, and he calls her spoiled. She asks if that's a bad thing, and he replies that it's not. With the flame high, a hand holds a pan, preparing something over the fire. Appearing from among the flowers, a woman named Lisa enters the scene. She mentions they're forming a group for the domain, asking if he's interested. With an eager smile, Lisa declares she really wants to join the adventure. Suffering overwhelms the young man, blood dripping from his mouth. With his mouth full of blood, he clutches his neck, showing immense pain. Mocking his opponent, the tall figure says his special power is not impressive at all. Then, the figure continues to taunt him, calling him complete trash. Lifting his opponent, he threatens to blow the rival's head off with the glowing sword. And so, the incandescent sword strikes the target with full force, splattering a lot of blood. Then, an eye slowly opens, revealing bulging veins and exhaustion. The scene changes. Rio is lying in bed, still looking disturbed by the nightmare. Thinking about it, Rio finds himself trapped once again in the same recurring nightmare. Imagining the future, Rio thinks he'll face the monster again, or something much worse. Tending to his sister, Rio sits beside Koyuki, who remains sick and weak. Worried, Rio explains that the medicine only provides relief, but Koyuki's illness persists. Holding her hand, he says Koyuki will spend more time in a coma, and her body will weaken. Still holding his sister's hand, he realizes the danger to their family isn't over. Determined, Rio plans to prepare to enter the next domain as soon as possible. Climbing the buildings, sunlight illuminates the large city. Arriving at the location, he sees a sign for the fighting hall right in front of him. He then realizes this is an exclusive hall for the awakened, feeling his enhanced physical abilities. As he fights, he remembers how he used to combat without strategy, just blindly. Because of this lack of tactics, he ended up taking a lot of damage in the last fight. Thinking about the danger, he knows he can't come back unscathed anymore. He needs to fight better now. That's why he concludes he needs to keep leveling up non-stop. Entering the place, he sees many people training. The place is packed. Surprised, he wonders if all those people are really awakened like him. Questioned by a man, Rio explains that he came there to learn martial arts. Sensing the man's magical power, Rio realizes he's at a higher level than him. The man then asks for Rio's level, and he replies that he's level F, the lowest. Explaining the classification, he says he's level 5, the weakest of all, an F rank. Stating the monthly fee, the man tells him to pay before they find him a trainer. Asking for a lower price, Rio tries to argue, but the man is already turning away. Trying for a discount, Rio sees the man turn away, but a woman calls him over to pay. Putting on the uniform, Rio feels relieved to have the energy stones from the domain. Straight and to the point, someone asks Rio if that was his name. Focused, Rio has an attentive and determined look on his face. At that moment, Rio's eyes widen, showing surprise at what he sees. Introducing herself, Lisa announces she will be Rio's trainer from now on. Stunned, Rio questions her about being a G-girl, showing his surprise. Annoyed, Lisa warns Rio not to underestimate her just because she's a girl. Quickly, Lisa reaches Rio and grabs him by the neck, immobilizing him. Her speed surprises Rio, whose eyes widen at the action. Keeping the pressure on Rio's neck, Lisa demonstrates her strength. Then, Lisa easily throws Rio to the ground, pinning him. Standing over him, Lisa asks if Rio understands the difference in their skill levels. With her face close to his, Lisa asks why Rio was staring at her like that. On the ground, Rio replies that she seemed familiar for some reason. Pinned to the ground, Rio grunts in pain as Lisa holds him down, warning him that she's one of the best there. Questioning herself, Lisa wonders why someone with her skills would be training someone so weak. Thinking about the situation, Rio believes Lisa is training him because no one else wanted him as a student. Laughing, Lisa says Rio is smart, even if he seems out of it, and he wonders if that's true. Turning away, Lisa explains that she's F rank, just like him, and most people there are D or C rank. During a training session, Lisa thinks that the difference in ranks is huge, and she can't beat a D rank. The setting changes to a kitchen, where Lisa is complaining about being stuck doing household chores. Smiling, Lisa thanks Rio, because now she has someone to train who's the same rank as her. Excited, Lisa invites Rio on an expedition to the Goose Domain, and he's very surprised. Then, Lisa smiles and says she'll see if she can take Rio, who quickly tries to stop her. With a serious expression, Rio realizes she isn't really listening to what he has to say. Watching Lisa walk away, Rio thinks he's seen her somewhere before, feeling a sense of familiarity. Then, Lisa appears wielding a sword, performing a swift and powerful move. With wide eyes, Rio remembers her, confirming she is Lisa, the strongest S rank of fire. Looking at Lisa, Rio wonders why she, being so powerful, is now an F rank. She was a powerful woman, known for her ability to manipulate flames and fight. Facing the creature, she used her flames and combat skills, always defeating her enemies. However, despite all her strength, Lisa one day died mysteriously. Remembering the past, she looked so happy and was smiling there. In the present, she's treated strangely, very differently than she used to be. They refuse the girl, saying there are no more spots for her in the group, insisting she tells them she can help, even as a support. Agreeing with the girl, the young man accepts her into the group. He can't bring himself to refuse, and just accepts the situation. At that moment, he realizes entering the domain would be a good way to level up quickly. Changing scenes, during the week, he took care of the girl and trained. Training intensely at the fighting academy, he dedicates himself every day. In training, he faces Lisa, who now shows off all her skill. Then, Lisa delivers a powerful kick, hitting him square on. Falling to the ground, he realizes the girl's impressive strength. Questioning him, she asks if he's done already, saying he's too weak. Asking for a timeout, he begs for 5 minutes to rest a bit. Thinking about the situation, he realizes her techniques are high level. As a result, he gets a level up, raising his level right there. Meanwhile, she drinks some water, unaware that her second manifestation is near. Noticing the girl, he thinks about how he could make her power manifest sooner. With surprise, his eyes widen as he realizes something important now. Then a message appears, warning him it's forbidden to talk about the future. Understanding the warning, he shouts that he got the message, though he's annoyed. At that, he puts a hand to his throat, feeling the punishment for almost breaking the rule. Suddenly, she appears with a high kick, aiming for his head. Falling to the ground, he narrowly dodges the unexpected attack. Looking at him, she seems surprised by the young man's quick reaction. Upset, he complains about the surprise attack and asks her to call him master. Telling him to get up, she says the training continues, and he agrees. Thinking, she wonders how he can suddenly dodge her attacks. However, she notices that Ryo's growth is truly abnormal. Discouraged, she laments that he's still F-class, just like her. Changing scenes, they arrive at the domain's entrance, which looks like a tunnel. Pointing to the tunnel, a guy explains that it's the domain entrance, but the other doesn't get it. Smiling, he explains that you can't tell what it really is from the outside. Revealing itself, the domain stretches deep inside the frightening tunnel. Afraid, the guys question the safety and wonder if it's dangerous. Annoyed, one of the leaders scolds them, saying that to get spoils, you have to face danger. Then he shows an orb that detects the magic levels inside the domain. Explaining that the orb is barely glowing, the leader says the domain is safe. Confident, he tells them not to worry, that he and Kai will handle the monsters. Observing, Ryo thinks that Kai must have a lot of experience with domains. Everyone enters the domain, following the confident young man's lead. Seeing him, she asks if he's scared, since it's his first time in a domain. Pulling his hair, she tells him she'll protect him, because she's the master. Advancing through the dark tunnel, the group follows with a torch. Then she comments on the mushrooms, saying they might be mutants. Focusing his gaze, Ryo notices something unexpected in the area. At that, he alerts everyone to prepare for a battle. Many red lizards appear, looking weak and easy. A lizard lunges at her, attacking fiercely. Ryo pierces the lizard, striking it and surprising the girl. Dying, the lizard falls to the ground among the mushrooms. Turning around, he asks if the girl is okay. With a drop of blood on her chest, she is startled by her own condition. Focusing on Lisa, Ryo notices she's trembling a lot. Scared. With wide eyes, Lisa says she's fine, answering the question. Turning his back, another guy makes fun of Lisa, asking where her enthusiasm went. He criticizes Lisa, saying she has no courage, and she apologizes to Jin. At that, he thinks that guy despises lower-class awakened ones. Intervening, the group leader asks Jin to stop, but he insists it's true. To calm Lisa down, he tells her about a tough time he had, and she asks if it's true. With a smile, he touches her head, promising he'll protect her, and she agrees. Thinking about the leader, he sees the guy is trustworthy and doesn't look down on anyone. Then, the group stands still, observing several dark cave entrances, assessing the area. Holding a glowing crystal, he announces they will now split up to explore. With the crystal glowing, he assures them it's safe and sets a time limit for the search. Excited, one of the guys claims they can handle the red lizards. Nearby, Lisa remains with a worried expression on her face, lost in thought. Asking them to follow, he calls out to Lisa, who hastily replies she's coming. Holding a lit torch, a guy says that Kai is very kind to them. Smiling, Kai says they are all his valuable teammates after all. Attacking, a lizard charges, but it's blocked by the blade, spraying blood. Facing the lizard, Lisa repeats that she's not scared, that she's okay. Opening its mouth, the lizard snarls at the girl in front of it. Scared, Lisa raises her hands, looking terrified. Showing Lisa's eye, her fear and anguish are clear. Ryo punches the lizard, hitting the monster as Lisa watches in horror. Sitting on the ground, Lisa observes the bright blue elements all around. Then Lisa says she's useless, too weak to survive in this domain. Approaching her, Rio disputes what Lisa just said. Smiling, Rio extends his hand to Lisa, telling her she'll get stronger. Holding her hand firmly, Rio encourages her to believe in herself. Thanking him, Lisa says Rio is much braver than she is. With determination, Rio states that he feels fear too, but he won't run away. Lisa questions Rio, asking if he has a reason to get stronger. Thinking of Kai, she blushes, imagining fighting alongside him. Then Lisa, embarrassed, says that Kai treats everyone well, even F-class members. On the ground, several blue mushrooms emit a subtle glow. Silencing Lisa, Rio warns that something is getting close to them. Appearing, a carnivorous plant emerges, its red center pulsing. Moving away, Rio and Lisa hide behind a rock, watching the plant. With the plant in front of them, Rio wonders what it's doing there, as it doesn't look strong. Staring intently, Lisa asks Rio to let her take care of that plant. Holding Lisa back, Rio stops her, asking her to wait a second. Questioning him, Lisa asks what's wrong. Rio has a bad feeling. Sensing something, Rio says there's something terrifying about that plant. His instincts are warning him. Rio tells her to stay back and watch the plant, and she asks why. Understanding, Lisa agrees with Rio's idea, accepting the situation. Stirring, the carnivorous plant makes its presence known, glowing in the darkness. Hidden behind the rock, they watch the whole thing dissolve right in front of them. At that, she asks if the man-eating plant really disappeared completely. He then says the plant is gone, but the terrifying presence hasn't left yet. Telling Lisa not to move, he holds her back so they can wait a little longer. After 10 minutes, he thinks the presence is gone, but suddenly they hear a scream. Shocked, he recognizes the voice as belonging to the E-class member, wondering what happened. Hearing the screams, she asks what's happening, and he thinks they've found a beast. Wondering if it's a stronger beast, he comments that there's something strange about this domain. Then she asks what to do, thinking they'd be fine with Kai and Jin around. In a swift move, he covers her mouth and tells her to be absolutely silent. Making a shushing gesture, he warns that the terrifying presence has just returned. Right in front of them, the man-eating plant emerges again. Just then, Kai and his companion suddenly appear, stopping right in front of them. Relieved for a moment, she thinks they are finally safe now that they've arrived. Kai then reveals that everyone else died, and only the two of them are left to gather information. Unable to believe what she's hearing, she is completely shocked by the unexpected revelation. He explains that the creature grows quiet after it hunts, revealing his strategy. His partner then praises Kai for using the lower-class members as bait. Kai replies that they all fell for it and served their purpose well. Realizing the trap, he understands that Kai brought everyone just to be sacrificed. With tears in her eyes, she doesn't understand and asks why Kai did all this. In a flashback, Kai was telling Lisa not to look down on herself for being low class. He had also said that even an F class could contribute a lot inside the domain. Realizing the truth, she covers her face, saying it was all a lie. Not seeing any bodies, Kai asks if they were eaten by the creature from this place. His partner finds it strange, wondering if someone accidentally angered the mutant monster. Suddenly, the mushrooms on the ground start to shake in a very strange way. Something then emerges from the darkness of the cave, startling them with a strange noise. Hearing a noise, they turn around, and one asks the other what that is. Then a winged creature appears before them, revealing its terrifying form to everyone. Reacting quickly, Kai's partner warns about an incoming supersonic attack. Protecting the girl, he wonders about the giant bat right after the carnivorous plant. Frustrated, his partner says he's going in and will kill the creature himself. Kai desperately shouts, telling him to wait and not attack so recklessly, but he doesn't heed the warning, charging forward and landing a blow on the creature. Hit head-on, he takes a powerful counterattack and is thrown far away. Flying backward, Kai's partner slams violently against the cave wall. Seeing this, Kai prepares to retaliate, concentrating a dark energy in his hand. The creature then unleashes another supersonic attack, aiming directly at him with full force. Raising his hands, Kai casts a freezing power that completely traps the monster in ice. Peeking from behind the rock, he wonders if this is the power of a C-class. With a confident smile, Kai says that in the end, the beast wasn't that strong. But suddenly, the creature breaks free, shattering all the ice that held it. Advancing very quickly, it attacks Kai from behind, landing a direct hit. Thrown far away, Kai is hit and sent flying as blood splatters through the air. Falling lifelessly, his body hits the ground right in front of the two who are hiding. His eyes wide open, his face shows the complete surprise of defeat and death. Seeing the terrible scene, Lisa covers her mouth in panic, unable to believe what just happened. So she won't see, he quickly covers her eyes with both hands. Telling her to calm down, he warns that if she panics, she'll die there too. He then wonders why the groups encounter different beasts, questioning the reality of the place. Looking at the ground, he wonders when those mushrooms started glowing so brightly. Connecting the dots, he finally suspects that hallucinations might be the cause of everything. Turning to Lisa, he asks if she can burn all the mushrooms with her fire. He then says the plant and the bat were illusions, but the deaths were not. Believing this, he says that by burning the source, they might be able to see the truth. This way, the creature's true form could finally be revealed to them. Then the illusion shatters, revealing a giant serpent right in front of them. Seeing the creature, she asks what it is, and he says it's the real monster. With a focused gaze, he notices the giant serpent has an energy core. Noticing the creature turning away, she suggests they take the chance to escape, but the snake suddenly attacks, and he shields her from the impact against the wall. Rising before them, the giant serpent prepares for an imminent attack. She asks why the creature hasn't calmed down, and he realizes the terrible truth. With its mouth open, the serpent prepares to strike them both. Seeing it strike, he pulls her away, and they barely manage to dodge the attack. Looking back startled, he tells her that was a very close call. Hit by its tail, they are both thrown aside, spitting blood from the impact. Now injured, he concludes there's no way to avoid fighting this creature. So he says they either destroy the core to close the domain, or they die there. Explaining the plan, he says he will trap the snake so she can set the vines on fire. Terrified, she says she can't do it, that there's no way it will work. With a serious face, he warns that if she doesn't do it, they will both die. He states they have no other choice. They have to fight to survive now. Remembering the vines, he says he just needs to get to them in time. Seeing the attack coming, she screams desperately, telling him to be very careful. Just then, he's hit head-on, sent flying backward and spitting a lot of blood. Flying toward the ground, his body gets closer and closer to the vines. With great effort, he reaches out his hand and manages to grab one of the vines on the ground. Touching the plant, his control ability activates, allowing him to manipulate all of them. Then the system window shows his sensory control ability activating. Using his power, the vines erupt from the ground and tightly bind the serpent. After trapping the snake, he yells for Lisa to act immediately, without hesitation. Paralyzed, she says she can't do it, that it's impossible for her right now. Remembering him, she recalls that he wouldn't run away because he had a reason to fight. Another memory shows it's her responsibility as an awakened one to close all domains. Mustering her courage, she says she can't retreat and must fight with everything she's got. Meanwhile, the vines tighten even more, holding the serpent in place. Roaring loudly, the creature becomes engulfed in intense purple flames. Celebrating, the girl, with blood on her mouth, says they did it. Perplexed, the young man questions the creature's reaction, which shouldn't be happening. Then, the creature, now serpentine, emerges imposingly, looking at her. Coiling around the girl, the large serpent traps her tightly, spilling blood. Shouting her name, the young man shows his desperation at the situation. Rising above him, the enormous purple serpent prepares its attack. Full of fury, the young man wonders what he did wrong, bleeding. Just then, an intense light shines from the serpent's body, drawing attention. Noticing the light, the young man wonders if the snake is actually an illusion. Descending quickly, the serpent's head lunges toward the fallen girl. Leaping, the young man moves closer, preparing a new strike. Hitting the purple body, he collides with its surface, feeling its texture. Shocked, the young man observes the purple light, noticing something unexpected. Landing on top of the monster, he positions himself to continue the fight. Falling hard, the young man hits the ground after the creature's attack. Realizing the truth, he says that this is the monster's true form. Roaring, the creature reveals itself to be a furious stone serpent. Getting up, the young man prepares for a new move, looking for a solution. Drawing a sword, he takes an attack stance, aiming at the target. Striking the monster, the young man understands that its body is made of stone. Spinning quickly, the serpent tries to hit him, but he narrowly dodges. Determined, the young man states he won't give up, no matter what. Meanwhile, a message appears, revealing a new power. Shocked, the young man sees something surprising, his eyes widening. Looking like a giant snake, he wonders if there's magic flowing inside it. Then, a part of it glows brightly, and he realizes it's the monster's weak spot. Tasting blood, he senses its speed and knows he has to leap in fast to strike. Facing the enemy, he braces himself, trying to figure out how to advance and attack. Despite the difficulty, he stays focused, his expression deadly serious. Lying on the ground, she thinks the attack failed, wondering why he didn't just run away. The scene shifts, and a figure kicks the air forcefully. It looks like Rio, moving fast. The other guy is hit by the kick and quickly loses his balance, falling to the ground. Trying to shield himself, he sees a hand coming for his head, barely missing him. Just then, the girl yells at him, demanding to know what Rio was doing. She looks really angry. He replies that he was just dodging her attacks. warning her he'd end up in the hospital if she hit him. She counts on her fingers. "You've dodged 3 times, she says, asking if that's a problem. Furious, she reminds him that he needs to beat her, and running away won't get him the win. With his sword in hand, he understands running won't solve anything. He has to counterattack to survive. Leaping toward the creature, he shows his resolve and attacks again without hesitation. Rio is trapped, but he smiles and says the fight isn't over yet. Suddenly, he's suspended in the air, surrounded by sturdy branches. Meanwhile, strong branches wrap around the giant rocky monster. Climbing onto the monster, he gets into position, ready to strike with his sword. And just like that, he plunges the blade straight into the rocky enemy's body. He realizes his physical abilities have improved a lot since he leveled up. He also remembers the tough training with Lisa, which helped him a great deal. She says the target is 2,000 reps, and he thinks it's insane. Steadying his strike, he aims for the weak spot, determined to finish it. Jumping, he declares that the weak spot is right there, and it's going to be easy. Then, he strikes with all his might, hitting the creature's exact weak spot. The sharp blade pierces deep, causing the creature immense pain. With intense focus, he yells that the right spot is right there. Forcing the sword deeper, he grunts as the creature shows signs of deep pain. Then, the creature shatters, screaming loudly in pure agony. The creature explodes into purple shards, signaling its defeat and his victory. With the monster defeated, he's thrown back, landing on the grass. Then, a victory message appears, followed by a series of level ups. Relieved, he smiles, thinking he managed to survive once again. Next, a bright blue gem appears, surprising him. Then, a golden cube and a yellow aura appear, both brimming with energy. Holding the golden cube, he wonders how much he could sell it for. Meanwhile, the golden aura surrounds his hand and begins to move. Rio watches the golden aura, a surprised look on his face. A new skill acquired appears on the screen: Psychic Attack. Rio wonders about the new skill, as he's never heard of anything like it. He decides to research it later. Right now, he needs to get Lisa to the hospital quickly. He helps her up, asking if she's okay and telling her they need to leave. She says she thinks she's going to die, and he comforts her, saying she'll be famous. Asking for a hug, she says she's cold and seems to be in bad shape. Rio holds her tight, telling her to believe and stay with him. Then, she thanks him for the warmth and says goodbye, her eyes closed. Determined, he shouts that he won't let her die, that he'll save her again. Just then, a notification appears, unlocking the Vitality Transfer skill. Then, another alert pops up, stating that all basic skills have been unlocked. Surprised, he wonders about the new skill he just acquired. Next, golden drops fall, slightly transforming the surroundings. As he holds her, Rio sees a golden energy surrounding them both. Lisa is enveloped in a golden light, seeming to recover a little. Asking how she feels, he sees Lisa groan, showing her pain. Worried, he calls her name, not understanding what's happening. The scene changes to a large white hospital under a blue sky. In the hospital, Rio's eye is closed, still recovering. He suddenly opens his eyes, waking up with a visible start. Sitting up in bed, he yells Lisa's name, looking very confused. Confused, he wonders where he is and why he can't remember anything. Staring intently, he wonders if Lisa coming back to life was just another dream. Getting up quickly, he leaves the bed with a destination in mind. Feeling a sudden wave of dizziness, he holds his head, a bit disoriented. Then, he spots a woman standing in the doorway, reminding him of Lisa. Startled, he asks if that person is the Lisa he's been looking for. She immediately warns him to stay in bed and get plenty of rest. Getting closer, he hugs her tightly, relieved to have found her. A bit awkwardly, he pulls back, slightly embarrassed by the situation. Apologizing, he tries to explain, but she assures him it's okay. Back in the hospital, he then asks about having passed out. Sitting beside him, she confirms he passed out and mentions his wounds have healed. Flashing back, she sees herself next to him as he lay on the ground, worried. Trying to help, she pulls him up from the ground, telling him they need to get out of there quickly. Straining, she realizes how heavy he is, making it difficult to walk quickly. Even so, she drags him away, leaving a body behind. Moving farther away, the two head towards the entrance of a dark cave. Apologizing, he says the exit was far and that he was a burden to her. Smiling, she says he held her really tight when she was dying. At that, they both look surprised, reflecting on that significant moment. Explaining she was cold, the woman thanks him for the hug, saying it felt good. She then asks if he used some kind of healing ability on her. He then remembers the transfer ability, but feels like he's forgotten something important. Sitting up, he comments to her about the deaths and the government's inaction. Explaining everything, she reveals that she was questioned and had already told them what happened. After investigating the bodies, the government confirmed the cause of death was mutant creatures. He asks if she mentioned him, as she continues to explain. Revealing her secret, she says she didn't want to cause a stir about his healing ability. He agrees, not wanting anyone to know, thinking about his strange level-up system. Looking back, he imagines being monitored by the government or other malicious groups. Curious, she asks why he's suddenly so distracted. Reassuring her, he says she doesn't need to worry because she's very special. Surprised by his declaration, she reacts unexpectedly. Startled, he backpedals, saying that's not what he meant. Then she tells him to rest, as she's heading to the fighting hall alone. At the door, he calls out to her and asks if anyone bothered her about what happened. Smiling, she replies that everything's fine because nobody liked the two of them anyway. Relieved, he agrees, and she says goodbye, promising to come back the next day. Leaving the room, she leans against the door, reflecting on the recent events. Thoughtfully, she closes her eyes, worried about the current situation. The scene changes to a tall building under a clear sky. Inside, a man hands over documents detailing the recent incident. Reading them, another man questions how the two of them survived, finding it strange. Taking a sip of his drink, he trusts his intuition and orders an investigation into the pair. Cutting to another location, a residential neighborhood appears under the sun. Discharged from the hospital, he heads home so he won't worry Koyuki. When he arrives, his sister greets him happily, excitedly shouting his name. Hugging his sister affectionately, he smiles in relief, happy to see her so safe. Looking at his reflection, he thinks about his healed wounds and his level increase. Lying down, he remembers the new psychic ability and the vitality transfer skill he unlocked. The skill details show that it's possible to restore the vitality of nearby beings. Smiling, he celebrates his new ability to heal himself using others' vitality. Lying down, he holds a shiny item and immediately thinks about selling it. To avoid suspicion, he decides to sell the item on the black market. Arriving in disguise, he offers an energy stone to a woman, wanting to sell it quickly. Filling out a form, he enters his account number to receive the money. The transaction is quick. The woman types on her computer to finalize everything. Turning around in surprise, he realizes the money has already been deposited into his account. Shocked, he looks at his phone, processing how fast the transfer was. A message appears on his phone, confirming a deposit of 50 million yen. Startled, he widens his eyes, unable to believe he has so much money. He asks if there's a mistake, but the woman explains the stone was incredibly valuable. She calmly offers a refund in case he no longer wants to sell it. Refusing the offer, he thanks her profusely and takes the money for himself. Walking down the street, he thinks about how this money will improve his life. Looking at a luxurious room, he imagines his sister loving the new place. Changing his mind, he realizes material possessions become trash in the apocalypse. What matters is improving his skills and getting his sister's medicine. Handing him a dagger, the woman explains it's an elemental knife for strength and speed. Standing in front of a door, he reads a notice that the fighting hall has moved. Confused, he thinks that Lisa didn't mention anything about the change. Focusing, he feels his control ability has grown stronger and senses a murderous intent. Scared on the floor, the woman tries to defend herself, swearing she's telling the truth. Furious, a man accuses her of lying and promises to turn her to ash. Slamming his fist on the ground, the man creates an impact, shattering the floor. Startled by something, he widens his eyes, not understanding what's going on. Holding the woman in his arms, he asks if she's okay and what that guy is doing here. With a disapproving look, he questions her about her lies. Regretfully, she apologizes, saying she didn't want to worry him at all. Stepping away, he faces the man who punched the floor and asks who he is. Another man explains that this is Ryo, who joined the hall in their absence. Facing them both, Goda says they set up Senior Kai at the perfect moment. Laughing, a group mocks Ryo's ability, calling him a gardener. Sitting down, the woman hears Ryo tell her to rest and asks what he's going to do. Smiling confidently, he replies that she doesn't need to worry, that he'll take care of everything. Thinking to himself, he knows the level records aren't exact, but they are in the database. He used to be F class, but now he knows his level must be much higher. A group of men, some D class and one C class, are watching him. He makes a challenge, proposing a bet. If he wins, they stop bothering Lisa. The man laughs and asks if Ryo has gone crazy, challenging him to a fight. Startled by something, he shows hesitation as the bet is accepted. Agreeing to the fight, Ryo accepts the conditions, unconcerned about any injuries. Whispering among themselves, the others wonder if Ryo can really face Goda. Sitting down, Lisa reflects that Ryo doesn't act impulsively and must have a plan. One of the men steps forward, saying he'll take Ryo down without Goda's help. Drawing his dagger, Ryo dares him to try, ready for the fight. Showing its fury, a huge creature roars, while a small warrior announces he will display his power. Then, A blue-haired character rushes towards his opponent at high speed. Moving with agility, he lands a precise blow to the opponent's chest, surprising everyone. The hero's fist then strikes the adversary with force, showing the impact of the charge. He expresses surprise at the strength of the blow, wondering if his rival is a strength awakened. From a distance, the opponent asks if he was just planning to run from the fight. While hovering in the air, Ryo said he was just waiting for the ideal chance to attack. Declaring his intention, he says he was waiting for the perfect opportunity to counterattack. Ryo quickly unleashes intense blows, trying to catch the moving opponent off guard. In response, the adversary smiles, saying speed wouldn't be enough to beat him here. A woman then comments on their classes, saying it would be hard for him to counter. Turning, he asks if they thought he was only fast, warning them that all of his skills, his abilities had leveled up, and he lands a devastating blow to his opponent's face. With the attack, the adversary yells in surprise, blood immediately gushing from his nose. After the strong hit, he's thrown far, landing on the ground with a hard, painful thud. Shocked, the woman watches the scene, stunned by what just happened. A man with crossed arms then asks if an F-class just threw a D-class with a single blow. Declaring his victory, Ryo announces he's ready for the next challenger in this fight. The new opponent appears and challenges him, telling Ryo to try and catch him if he's so confident in his speed. Surprised, Ryo reacts to the new opponent's speed as he vanishes before his eyes. The opponent then appears behind Ryo, who turns to face him attentively. Asking where he went, Ryo hears the adversary say he was right there, watching him. Suddenly, a wave of purple energy hits Ryo, who feels the impact of the attack. Turning away, the opponent questions how he planned to win if he couldn't even find him. Wounded, Ryo hears the opponent say, this is his chance to give up the fight now. Laughing, the adversary taunts him, saying he might let him go if he knelt and begged. Observing his rival, Ryo realizes he isn't just fast, he has a teleportation ability. Thinking quickly, Ryo remembers his detection skill could see other things, as his rival calls him stubborn. The opponent's purple energy intensifies and swirls, preparing for another move. Counterattacking, Ryo unleashes a wave of blue energy, yelling that he found him again. As Ryo spins his knife, the crowd wonders if this is just a reckless attack. Shocked, the woman denies it, understanding that something unexpected is about to happen. The opponent is hit in the arm, so surprised he can't believe what he just saw. After the attack, he screams in pain, falling to the ground from the impact of the blow. Winning again, Ryo wipes his face and announces that this is his second victory. Stunned, the students argue, unable to understand how an F-class defeated two D-class opponents. Laughing, an older man tells Ryo that not even a magic item could overcome their difference in power. He then says that an F-class compared to a C-class is nothing but a useless ant. Thrown to the ground, Ryo is hit by a powerful blow from the new adversary. Feeling the attack, Ryo realizes he couldn't dodge that powerful charge. Smiling, the adversary warns him that his attack isn't over yet. Attacking again, he throws Ryo into a wall which crumbles on impact. Terrified, the woman screams Ryo's name, fearing for his condition. Injured in the rubble, Ryo hears a comment about the opponent's impressive strength. Mockingly, the adversary, brimming with energy, tells Ryo to learn his place. Startled, Ryo stares blankly, feeling the weight of his enemy's words. In a swift move, Ryo leaps from the debris, dodging another powerful blow. Thinking about the attack, he comments that if he had been hit, he might have lost. Laughing, the opponent asks if he thinks he can keep dodging like that forever. With agility, Ryo evades another attack that smashes into the ground, showcasing his dodges. Worried, Ryo knows he needs to find his opponent's weakness as quickly as possible. He considers his opponent's weakness, reflecting on the fight so far. Then, his rival summons an energy, taunting him and laughing at the situation. He strikes his adversary with an energy blast, slamming him into the ground. On the ground, he realizes the blow was stronger than the previous ones, leaving him injured. With this, he senses a different energy during the initial strikes. This means his enemy's body was overflowing with power at certain moments. For that reason, his rival's magic power must be weakening from using such a strong attack. His opponent prepares a final blow, but he tries to predict the next move. The enemy is shocked by what he sees. As a result, he dodges the blows, confirming the attacks have weakened. He gathers energy in his hand, ready to strike back and start his counterattack. He executes a powerful move, leaping into the air, ready to strike his opponent. Surprised, the enemy wonders how someone so weak could muster such a fierce attack. Striking the adversary, the blow ends the sequence with great precision. Collapsing to the ground, the enemy now feels his opponent's strength. He strikes the enemy, leaving him on the ground with a blade near his face. He declares victory as his opponent asks how he could risk so much. Saying he's just trying to survive, he explains that the others have never risked their lives. Turning to the others, he warns them that the real weaklings are present right there. Yelling that they'll take the protagonist down, the enemies prepare to attack. "Watch out!" the seated girl yells to the protagonist. Then, with a surprised cry, he turns to see who's approaching. Moving in quickly, one of the enemies attacks the protagonist with a precise kick. Right after, he's hit by a purple strike as another enemy joins the attack. Thrown a great distance, he bleeds heavily, collapsing from the blow. Getting up, the enemy leader attacks the protagonist with a wave of blue energy. The energy hits the protagonist, slamming him hard onto the ground. Meanwhile, the enemy tells him not to get cocky just because he put up a small fight. Shouting his name, the girl stands up, her hands filled with fire. A man grabs her from behind, saying an observer shouldn't interfere in the fight. The girl yells that the fight should be one-on-one. With a smirk, the enemy asks if she thinks they're cowards. Laughing, one of the allies asks if they aren't fighting fairly. The enemy warns that in a fight like this, it's easy to go too far and hurt someone. Lying on the ground, he decides he needs to use the psychic attack. Using the ability, he unleashes a psychic attack on the enemy, surprising him. On his knees, the enemy wonders what just happened. Not understanding the situation, the enemy wonders where the protagonist has gone. Just then, a giant purple snake appears, startling the adversary. The protagonist then appears behind the enemy, saying that snake is the one that killed Kai. Surrounded by darkness, the enemy feels the impact of the attack. With a scream of terror, he panics. Glancing to the side, begging for no one to come near, the enemy backs away in a panic. Desperate, he begs anyone for help, terrified of the giant snake. Watching everything, the girl realizes their leader saw something terrible. Asking what happened, the other students look at their leader, collapsed on the ground. Injured, the protagonist thinks that the psychic attack was much stronger than he imagined. Outraged, the other students confront the protagonist, telling him they won't forgive him. Feeling his body give out, he considers using an ability he's never tried before. Recalling the past, he remembers training in the mountains, feeling his perception grow sharper. Striking the ground with force, he creates a crack and a massive impact. Next, the buildings shake, and people wonder if it's an earthquake. People run in desperation while a glowing man stands still, just watching the chaos. A fighter takes a heavy blow, his hands bleeding from an impressive attack. Launching his opponent into the air, he continues the assault, injuring them both in the clash. Scared, the young woman and a man watch the scene, still sitting on the ground. Grabbing the enemy's neck, he questions his strength and the injuries from their fights. Surprised, the man squirms as a red trail appears on his neck. Landing a powerful punch, he knocks his rival down, making him bleed heavily. Lying on the ground, the opponent is injured, and the wall behind him is cracked. Receiving the level-up message, he breathes a sigh of relief, ready for the next one. Running towards him, the young woman hugs him tightly, showing her concern. Worried, she talks about the risk, but he says he's alive and well. Just then, he stumbles, leaning on her to stay upright. Feeling dizzy, he apologizes, and she lets him lean on her. Watching the scene, a guy questions how the rookie beat Mr. Goda. As they talk, they're amazed by his class and power, commenting on the fight. Thinking about the chairman's words, a man in a suit decides to report back immediately. As he leaves, he wonders if he felt something strange, but brushes it off. With shocked faces, the men comment that they felt something strange coming from there. Arriving on site, an old man with a cane demands to know what they're doing to the dojo. Curious, he asks who the old man is, and the young woman explains that he's the owner of the place. Sadly, she informs him that the owner's son is getting married, so the hall will be sold. Looking at her, he remains silent, processing the information. Full of anger, the old man says they will be held responsible for the damage to the dojo. Noguchi accuses Lisa and Rio of causing the destruction, shifting the blame. Angry, she yells, asking why he's twisting the story like that. Thinking about the danger from Goda, Noguchi decides to pin the blame on them to protect himself. Asking about the price, Rio wants to know how much the old man is selling the place for. Deciding to buy it, Rio announces that the money will be enough to renovate everything. Shocked, everyone stares at Rio, not believing what they just heard. Laughing, Noguchi taunts Rio, asking where he would get that much money. Turning to the woman and the other man, Rio says he needs to finalize a sales contract quickly. Explaining the situation, Rio says the fighting hall will be hers from now on. Watching everything, the former owner of the place shows his surprise at the news. He continued explaining, saying that no one would be able to look down on her or disrespect the rules of the place anymore. Walking out of the hall, Rio and the woman leave as the other man watches them go. Walking down the street, they pass by trees and a wall under the hot sun. Asking Rio, she wants to know if his words about the hall were true. Suddenly, he spits blood and stumbles. caught by the woman who shouts his name. Guiding Rio, she points to a distant tree, telling him they'll be there soon. Reaching the tree, Rio leans heavily against it, with the woman always by his side. Placing his hand on the tree, Rio steadies himself, maintaining contact with the strong trunk. As he leans against the tree, he holds himself steady, while the woman watches attentively, asking herself, she wonders if this is Rio's healing ability. Commenting on the scene, the woman says that he and the tree almost became one. Thankful for what happened, Rio pulls away slightly, breaking contact with the tree. Apologizing to Lisa, Rio asks what she was saying just a moment ago. Surprised, she asks why the hall would be hers, since he was the one paying. Explaining the situation, Rio says she knows the place well, and they'll do many things there. This way, Rio plans to recruit people based on their character, forming a group built on strong trust. In a flashback, he remembers that Lisa became a leader in the past due to her strong leadership. Back then, she led the group, which trusted her to decide their next target and the spoils. Returning to the present, Lisa thinks that managing the hall will be amazing for her future. Looking at Rio, she asks if he's really going to do this for her or not. Apologizing, he says he can't stay, as someone is waiting for him. Lisa asks him who's waiting for him. Rio confirms he'd give his life for this person, saying she's the reason he's alive. Understanding the situation, Lisa accepts, saying she'll focus on her work. Happy and crying, Lisa says she'll do her best to manage the salon alone, and he should focus on what he needs to. She asks Rio if he'll still come around often. Rio says he will, adding that he'll need her training. She replies that she'll be waiting. Saying goodbye, he tells her he's going home now, and Lisa waves back at him. Even knowing it's not right, Lisa thinks she can't give up on Rio or her feelings. Back at his apartment, Rio thinks he wants to go to the domain, but he can't right now. A message appears, warning that he can't enter the domain without being level 15. Thinking about it, Rio reflects that level 15 might just be the minimum to survive. Entering another part of the house, he realizes Koyuki is awake when he hears a cough. Seeing the bathroom door, Rio calls out for Koyuki, worried about her. Shocked, his eyes widen at the scene that unfolds before him. Vomiting a lot of blood, Koyuki is hunched over the sink. Thinking fast, Koyuki needs to clean everything up before her brother finds out what happened. Just then, Rio arrives and calls her name, sensing the delicate situation. Determined, Rio thinks that he needs to level up and get the ingredients to cure his sister. Meanwhile, Koyuki gets up from the floor, looking a bit disoriented. Seeing her brother, she asks if he's there, and Rio asks if she's awake while getting her some water. Asking about her condition, Rio stares at her, and Koyuki hopes he hasn't noticed anything. Smiling, Koyuki says she feels much better than a few days ago. Hearing that, Rio nods, thinking it's good to know she's improving. Then, Rio tells her he's going to a domain in 2 days, and might be gone for a while, so he asks the neighbor for help. Laughing, Rio tells her not to worry. He paid the neighbor well, and she was happy to help. Accepting the situation, Koyuki says she'll stay in bed so she won't be in his way. Kneeling in front of her, Rio tells her not to worry about bothering him, promising she'll get better. Koyuki tells her brother to come back safely from the domain, and Rio says he's much stronger now. Spreading his arms wide, Rio asks Koyuki if she's hungry and what she'd like to eat. Shocked by something, Rio's eyes widen with concern. Smiling, Koyuki asks for fried rice as a blue aura glows around her. Koyuki asks her brother a question, her gaze still fixed on him. Quickly, Rio says he'll make the fried rice, but thinks he just saw magical energy coming from her. The scene changes to a tall building on the horizon under a sunny sky. In another room, a man reports to the president that Rio took down an awakened one and used elemental abilities. The man reports that Rio has registered with a guild and plans to enter the Karam domain in 2 days. Questioning the name, the president asks if he's familiar with the Karam domain. Thinking about the place, the president comments that the area has a sinister, suffocating vibe. Laughing, the president looks forward to Rio going there, wanting to see if he comes back alive. 2 days later, Rio arrives at the Karam domain and sees a shimmering energy barrier. Rio thinks that he needs to get the antidote ingredients hidden there. A big guy asks if Rio is the F-class dude who wants to enter the domain. Rio says yes and greets the man, confirming his identity. The man warns him that the domain requires at least a C-class to enter, and that he'd just get himself killed. Rio replies that he needs the opportunity to train, and promises he won't slow them down. Questioning Rio's confidence, the man warns that they won't help him if he gets into trouble. Apologizing, a woman says her friend has a difficult temper and tells Rio not to mind him. Rio replies that it's fine, and that people like that are easier to deal with than someone like Kai. Introducing herself, she says she's Yuna, a healer, and that Takaro is the leader, and also a B class. Yuna reveals they're not there to clear the domain, but to look for someone. The young woman says yes. They're looking for a very experienced veteran who entered the domain and never came back. Thinking about the situation, Rio gets worried, since it's hard to survive for more than a month in there. Then, Yuna reveals they received a message from the veteran a week ago. In the message, he was desperately asking them to find him in the Karam domain. The group walks through an ancient land, shrouded in dense fog. He questions himself, thinking about the vital ingredient he needs to find quickly. He warns them that it's a Class C area and tells everyone to stick together. She quickly apologizes. He then asks how they know the area's class and learns it's because the item is so expensive. Pointing to his friend up ahead, he explains that the guy can sense the magic in the environment. He then asks if they've noticed anything strange, saying he's felt a presence for a while now. "What do you mean, strange?" he retorts, but the other guy quickly changes the subject. Suddenly, both of them gasp in shock, staring intently at something. "Watch out!" one of the men yells. "Something dangerous is coming from the front left!" A massive mutant brown bear charges forward, lunging right at them. Drawing his sword, the warrior tells his companions to get ready. They charge in, one unleashing flames while another attacks with purple energy. The bear is hit dead on by the flames, reeling from the impact of the spell. Then, the purple energy strikes the monster, halting its aggressive charge. The mutant bear remains standing, still a threat, leaving the others on edge. Focused, the woman conjures a sphere of dark red energy, preparing to make her move. Leaping into the air, the man shouts to the monster, "I'm your main opponent!" He comes down with his flaming sword, striking the target in a powerful attack. With the bear pushed back, the warrior glares intently, ready to press the attack. He swings his sword, slicing into the mutant bear and sending blood flying everywhere. He then realizes the group's perfect sync. Noticing Captain Takuto's power, thinking about the future, he wonders if Lisa's group will one day be this impressive. He imagines Lisa evolving to S-Class, forming the strongest party ever. Worried, he knows he can't tell Lisa the truth. He has to change her tragic fate. Just then, the young man cries out in pain and surprise, suddenly noticing a gash on his chest. "Rio!" the girl screams. "Something's coming up fast behind you!" Rio spins around, drawing a glowing weapon. The mutant bear is right behind him. The warrior strikes, hitting the ground as Rio lies fallen near the mutant bear. Delivering a final blow, the man plunges his flaming sword into the giant bear's body. The mutant bear stumbles back, hit once more, showing signs of imminent defeat. Turning around, Rio thinks to himself that he didn't even have a chance to act. Takuto is standing right behind him. Takuto confronts him, yelling at him not to get in their way. Angrily, he warns that an F-class like Rio shouldn't just stand around if he doesn't want to die. Then, Takuto states that they shouldn't have brought someone like him on the mission. Rio laments, thinking that Takuto is right to yell at him. It's all his fault. Explaining, the girl says that Rio sensed the danger and drew his weapon before she did. She observes that Rio seems stronger than he lets on to the rest of the group. In a new scene, the night sky is blanketed by dark clouds. Fighting, Takuto strikes several dark monsters with his flaming sword. A massive, three-headed monster emerges from the flames, a clear sign of danger. As he heals the girl's wound, the man assures her they're just minor scratches. Nothing serious. Rio thinks to himself that Takuto and the others are winning too easily. The fight feels strange. Reflecting, Takuto says they've only seen weak monsters, not what you'd expect from a C difficulty area. His friend agrees, telling them to stay alert because the stronger ones haven't shown up yet. Crouching, Rio says he hasn't found the ingredient, feeling the strange presence grow stronger. Crouched by the riverbank, he wonders about the speed of the current. His hand touches the river's rough current. Sensing a strange force, he thinks the antidote's ingredient might be there. Pulling Rio by the arm, Takuto scolds him, telling him not to get separated. Rio resists, telling him to let go as he tries to pull away. Suddenly, Takuto's face fills with shock as he stares at something. Pointing, the girl tells everyone to look. Covering everything, a dense fog appears, quickly enveloping Rio and Takuto. Lost in the dense fog, some complain they can't see anything and feel their strength draining away, so one of them calls everyone to gather close. Then, a man asks if Kenji senses anything, but he replies that his sensing ability isn't activating. Thinking about the magical energy he felt, someone steps into the river water and is enveloped by it. Just then, the young man spots a glowing sphere above the water and shouts that he's finally found what he was looking for. Running quickly, the young man points the way, while others ask where he's going in such a hurry. Shouting furiously, one of the men calls the young man an idiot, showing his immense frustration. With that, he tells everyone to follow him, ordering them not to get separated, and the group agrees. The fog covers the forest, darkening the area and creating a scene of pure uncertainty. Noticing the absence of magic, the young man wonders if the energy has truly vanished. As he runs towards Rio, the man yells that he won't let this situation cave. We see the entrance to the cave, which looks very deep and mysterious. Lying on the ground, someone is injured with several cuts and a lot of blood. As they get closer, the group grows concerned, and the woman says she'll treat the wounds right away. Thinking aloud, the young man wonders about surviving here with such severe injuries. Sensing the magic fade, he wonders if it has disappeared or is just hidden. Suddenly, the young man is startled, as if something important has just happened. Moving closer, the young man approaches some plants over in the corner. Putting it all together, the young man realizes the system now allows him to sense ingredients naturally. There on the ground, a strange glowing flower is growing, with bloodstains nearby. We see a close-up of the flower, with its mysterious blue petals and red details. Shocked, he questions what happened, then calms himself, considering another cause. Analyzing the flower, he sees only one petal, looking ordinary but covered in blood. Picking up the flower, he examines the blood, noticing it isn't human. The injured man wonders aloud, but then says he knew the group would find him. Gathered around the fallen man, they ask what really happened in this place. Smiling, the woman explains that he is Rio, an F-class awakened here to train. Rio warns them that the boss is cunning, ambushes its enemies, and left him badly injured. Curious, the young man asks if the area's boss was also there and if it happened to be bleeding. Rio asserts that despite his appearance, he is a B-class awakened and managed to inflict some damage. Connecting the dots, the young man thinks the blood on the flower must be from the boss. He then wonders if the flower will fully bloom with fresh blood from the boss. Just then, a notification appears, stating that the exact method to obtain the ingredient has been revealed. Excited, the young man realizes all he has to do is defeat the boss to get the ingredient. Outraged, the man asks why Rio came back alone, but he explains that he was bait. Worried, the woman says Rio's life is more important and suggests they retreat so he can rest. However, Rio refuses, saying he finally wounded the boss, and now is the time to defeat it. With a bad feeling, the young man questions why Rio would stay here injured if it's so dangerous. Decided, Rio agrees to go with them to face the boss, and the young woman thanks him for his resolve. Turning to Yuna, the young man asks if she's coming along, noticing her lack of enthusiasm. With the bloody sword in her hands, Yuna thinks about their senior, who was always so careful with his life. Because of that, Yuna thinks he would have prepared beforehand, but wonders if she's overthinking it now. The young man asks about the senior's weapon, and Yuna confirms it is indeed his. Observing the situation, the young man sees something strange, as their senior always treasured this sword. At that moment, Yuna realizes their senior would never just leave his precious sword behind, her face showing surprise. Behind her, Yuna spots their senior, sensing a clearly threatening presence. With a forced smile, Yuna tries to return the sword, saying it's no big deal. Accepting the sword, the senior thanks her, ending their interaction right there. Then, the young man tells Rio to follow them silently, and he gets a confirmation. The older man points to the southwest of the cave, telling them to finish this quickly. Although suspicious of Rio, the young man decides to focus on his main goal, defeating the boss. Walking through the forest, the group moves forward under the sunlight. The girl notices that their senior knows the area well, but she feels a strange sense of unease. Just then, the girl trips on a rock and nearly falls to the ground. With agility, the man catches her and prevents her from falling. He tells her she can't let her guard down, as they're about to face the boss. Understanding his words, the girl agrees they need to focus on the area's boss. The girl questions Rio's calmness, remembering that he's always the first to notice things. The girl asks if Rio is really F-class, and he confirms that he is. The girl disputes the validity of the ranking, saying that the tests can be wrong. Rio notices Yuna's intelligence, believing she has sensed his true strength. One of their companions asks if the senior is okay, and he says he's counting on everyone. The man assures him that he'll give his all for their senior, with great confidence. The senior praises the other's talent, saying he has surpassed him. Rio and Yuna observe, noticing the group's good relationship with their senior. The girl notes that Takuto and their senior have a strong bond, like a master and student. Up above, the blue sky stretches out, dotted with light clouds. Arriving at the location, they announce that they've finally reached their destination. With obvious concern, he warns that the domain's boss is here. Shouting, the man points to the sky, warning that the danger is coming from above. A giant hawk appears, descending from the sky and grabbing everyone's attention. The man warns that the monster's wings are dangerous, and they should be careful. Spinning its wings, the hawk creates a powerful whirlwind that threatens them. Then, the adventurers are thrown in every direction, caught off guard by the whirlwind. Realizing the enemy's power, The young man assesses that facing the hawk will be a challenge. The man decides they need to go all out, even with the whirlwind disrupting their attacks. The senior commands Yuna to strengthen Takuto, preparing for the crucial attack. Concentrating her energy, Yuna projects a blue force towards Takuto, assisting him. Receiving the command, Takuto charges forward with his power, ready to confront the hawk. The hawk intensifies. Ryo remains standing, surrounded by a blue aura. Shocked, Ryo wonders about his level increase after the fight. Someone screams upon seeing a purple monster getting up again. Terrified, Yuna screams for help as she sees the danger approaching. He attacks the monster again with a powerful blow of blue energy. Startled, Yuna sees the attack and braces for impact. Ryo asks if she's okay, and she says yes, just surprised. Yuna looks at the defeated monster, wondering if Ryo took it down alone. Ryo tells her there are no monsters nearby, and that she should rest. Ryo runs off, saying the others must be fine. Yuna wonders why Ryo isn't affected by the mist, and how he knows there are no monsters. Suddenly, Yuna is hit by a force and dragged away. Two monsters aggressively attack the fallen figure. The man, shocked, asks if they are safe. The group fights the monsters using blue energy attacks. The man stares at the fallen monsters, not understanding what happened. The man shouts for his companions, trying to find them in the mist. Ryo thinks about the mist and how to lure the hawk out of it. Ryo hears a voice, recognizing Takuto in the dense mist. Ryo reacts to the voice, and a force shoves him forward. Ryo notes that the hawk appeared near Takuto. Takuto advances, sword in hand, among the fallen monsters. Takuto prepares his attack as a fiery aura surrounds him. Ryo warns Takuto of the danger behind him, running to help. The hawk flies, its wings engulfed in flames. With a determined look, Takuto closes his eyes and concentrates. Then, a shockwave spreads across the ground. The hawk attacks from above, and Takuto counters with a powerful strike. Impressed, Ryo realizes Takuto's skill, saying he planned that. Takuto prepares a strike, and his sword glows with blue energy. Takuto hits the hawk with a strong attack, right in the center of its body. Takuto confidently says that this time, the hawk will be defeated. The hawk screeches in pain as it's hit by Takuto's sword. Takuto falls after the strike into the purple mist. Ryo shouts Takuto's name, worried about his friend. Takuto attacks the hawk, wounding it again with a sword strike. Ryo turns back, seeing the wounded hawk flying in the mist. Ryo wonders if the hawk will try to kill Takuto by dropping him from the sky. Ryo draws his sword, preparing for combat. Ryo throws his sword, which cuts through the purple mist. With a flash, Ryo's sword hits its target, flying fast. Ryo's sword strikes the hawk, piercing it completely. The hawk falls, gravely wounded, into the mist. The friends say the mist has cleared and that the leader is being carried away by the hawk. Ryo yells for someone to shoot, desperate. Falling to the ground, the leader is engulfed in intense flames. Then, the fire intensifies, burning the leader brutally. The hawk attacks the leader with its talons amidst the flames. The leader falls to the ground, wounded and defeated, blood running down. The dead hawk falls with a thud, far from the group. The group asks if the leader is okay as the girl heals him. The group says the hawk is dead and that the leader was incredible. Happy, Ryo smiles. Attacking without warning, the older man stabs another in the back, coldly and without mercy. With one blow, the stabbed man is thrown back by the creature, covered in blood. A man yells, asking what the senior is doing. Suddenly, the senior is surrounded by a strong purple energy, wielding his sword. Nearby, two people seem to be fighting, shrouded in the same intense energy. He tries to move, but an intense energy stops anyone from advancing. Looking down, the senior questions the other man, asking why he doesn't get up. Grabbing a man by the neck, he demands respect, yanking him up forcefully. Leaning in close, the senior asks why he isn't resisting. Meanwhile, the man struggles, desperately trying to escape the tight grip. Bored, the senior complains that the situation is quite dull for him. Then, the senior warns that in that case, he might as well die. Suddenly, the senior looks up, surprised by what's coming. Falling from the sky, the young man appears, or wasn't the monsters, but the seniors. The senior was lying wounded on the ground, and the imposter had acted completely differently than expected. Floating, he concludes that if he's right, the enemy before him is the true boss of this area. Laughing, the fake senior declares there's no point in keeping his old appearance anymore. He then begins to transform, a purple energy covering his body. In a new form, a purple, horned humanoid monster appears, feeling more at ease. Surprised, the young man wonders why this humanoid monster appeared so early and wasn't found before. Frightened, the others ask about the talking humanoid monster, wanting to know where the real senior is. Smiling, the monster points to the ground, saying their companion was right there. Revealing everything, the monster explains that when it descended to Earth, Half of its core was stolen by the hawk. Annoyed, the monster reveals it was furious when it encountered that human in its path. Punching the senior, the monster claims to have won the fight, despite his resistance. Lying on the ground, the senior groaned from an open wound in his chest, utterly defeated and lifeless. Over the body, the monster explains that it used the human to try and recover what it had lost. With blood dripping, the monster absorbs something, emitting a strong purple energy. Looking down, he sees a blood-covered skeleton in the middle of the forest. Holding his phone, he reveals he successfully lured them to this location. Lying wounded on the ground, he explains they took longer to arrive than expected. The creature smiles, announcing it has secured an intact energy core. Horrified, they realize the monster is talking about one of their comrades. Shouting in anger, the man vows to defeat the enemy right in front of them. Turning to the group, the young man tells everyone to evacuate and take Takuto with them. He replies to the creature, saying he'll defeat it right here all by himself. Smiling again, the creature taunts the young man for his bold words. Pointing a finger, the man asks if an F-class like him can really beat the creature. The young man replies sternly, saying he'll handle this alone. As the woman asks Kenji for help, they prepare to follow his orders. As he's being dragged away, one of them asks if they're really abandoning their comrade to die. Holding a sword, the creature remarks that humans love to play the hero. Lunging forward, the enemy strikes with incredible speed. Striking from above, he lands a clean hit with his sword. Mouth agape, the creature looks stunned by the attack. Twisting his body, the young man readies himself for another attack. He thinks to himself that he's already reached the level assigned by the system. With a determined look, he's confident he has enough power to take down the domain boss. He strikes the enemy again, landing a direct hit on the creature. Hiding behind a tree, his friends watch Ryo in action. Stunned, the man thinks to himself that he couldn't even draw his sword against that monster. Impressed, the creature notes the wound, pondering the weakness of F-classes. Touching its wound, the creature asks if he's been hiding his true strength. Turning its back, the monster declares that just killing the young man would be boring. Startled, he wonders if the enemy is about to use a skill. Raising its arms, the creature summons rings of purple energy. Bracing himself, the young man crosses his arms to block the attack. From their hiding spot, one of his friends yells for everyone to cover their ears. As he shields himself, he senses this is no ordinary sonic attack. It could destroy his internal organs. Falling to his knees, he unleashes a powerful wave of golden energy. He extends his hand, and the golden energy spreads rapidly. Engulfed by branches, the creature is trapped and completely immobilized. Stunned, the creature asks if he can control wood. Watching the fight, his friends comment that that was a close call. Even trapped, the creature admits its arrogance, but asks if it's meant to stay trapped forever. Looking around, the monster realizes its enemy has suddenly vanished. Plummeting from above, he thinks that he just needs to stop its movements for a moment. Coming down with full force, he lands a powerful blow on the monster. Screaming in pain, the creature is enraged by the attack. Its body transforming, the monster vows to crush the young man. Flying through the air, the creature lets out a laugh amidst the swirling energy. Worried, the young man realizes the monster has grown even stronger. Raising his fists, the young man declares that he can't let the monster escape. Preparing an attack, the young man charges toward the airborne creature. Blade in hand, he focuses his energy for the next strike. He hits the monster, striking the creature with all his might. Crying out in despair, his friends worry about Ryo. With blood in his mouth, he insists the fight isn't over yet. Coughing up blood, he wonders if the monster's blade was poisoned. Held by the throat, he's trapped in the monster's grip. Taunting him, the monster assures him the wound isn't fatal. It wants to watch him suffer. Tossing the young man aside, the monster warns that this is the price for defying it. Holding him high, the creature warns that the fall from that perfect height would shatter his bones. Injured, he stares at the circle of purple energy, as the creature says the scene would be a beautiful sight. With sharp claws, a hand grabs the boy's head as blood streams down his face. Falling uncontrollably, he plummets through a dark, bluish void. Down below, 3 people watch the fall, with one of them warning that he's going to die. Then, a massive impact strikes the ground, triggering a powerful explosion. Startled, a man watches the scene, then says it was all over. Laughing, the winged creature declares the human is pathetic, a crushable ant, and that Earth will soon be theirs. Lying on the ground, the injured boy thinks about the creature's words, wondering if they can escape the domain. With a glowing hand, another man touches the trunk of a nearby tree. Touching the surface, the glowing hand emanates energy into the tree trunk. Surrounded by golden energy, the injured boy realizes he's been helped by accident. Just then, a screen appears, showing the skill Vitality Transfer being used. at the beginner level. Spreading out, the golden energy envelops the boy on the ground and the tree beside him. Surprised, he looks up, seeing the golden energy swirling around him. Startled, the horned monster's eyes widen as it wonders what was happening. Then, the creature turns around, confused about what could be going on. Observing the crash site, the creature finds it strange that the trees have withered, wondering if the body released some poison. Noticing the golden energy, the creature is shocked by what it sees. Suddenly, a golden arrow hits the creature floating in the air. Hitting the monster, the boy appears, making a dramatic entrance. The creature, angered, is surprised to see the boy looking so well and asks if he's healed. Facing the monster, the boy strikes an attack pose, ready for combat. Then, a screen appears showing the skill Psychic Attack being used. Soon after, an error message appears, warning that the skill failed because the opponent's psychic defense was higher than the skill's level. Countering the monster's attack, the boy strikes again, surprising the creature. Hitting the creature, the boy lunges at it using a dagger. Thinking fast, the boy decides the psychic attack is his only chance, so he needs a plan. Enraged, the creature decides that next time, it will rip the boy's head off. Surprised, the boy looks down, intrigued by what he sees. A smile appears on his face as he watches his enemy. Then the creature questions him, wanting to know why he is laughing. Questioning the monster, the boy implies that its power might not be genuine. Warning the monster, he declares that the absorbed magic is trying to escape its body. With wide eyes, the creature reacts to his warning, showing its astonishment. Preparing for combat, the boy assumes a serious and focused stance. Attacking with the dagger, he hears the monster mock him but challenges it to prove him wrong. Starting a countdown, the boy focuses on the monster, concentrated on his strategy. A message appears. Psychic Attack is now in use. Its eyes widening, the creature shows its terror as the countdown continues. Engulfed in purple energy, the monster can't see the boy, confused and disoriented. Noticing the energy escaping, the monster despairs, even though it had absorbed the core. Beginning to revert to its human form, the monster wonders why this is happening. Now in human form, the creature spots the boy and comes to a realization. Trying to move, the man realizes his body won't respond, puzzled by this. Even in human form, the monster says its food shouldn't run away on its own, as that just makes it hungrier. Then, the man faces the creature as it returns to its monstrous and terrifying form. Shocked, the man bleeds from his face, looking terrified and unable to react. With blood dripping from its mouth, the horned monster lets out a cry of rage. Suddenly, the man punches the monster's chest, surrounded by a strong blue aura. Preparing a new strike, he remains focused on his attack. With a powerful punch, he hits the monster, causing an explosion of energy. Bleeding, the horned monster refuses to believe it's been defeated, asking how it could lose. Standing over the monster, the boy asks about Earth becoming a paradise and if they found the exit from the domain. Fallen, the monster reveals with a smile that once the door opens, they will descend upon Earth. Reflecting, the boy wonders if the demon tribe in his past life was searching for this specific door. Even while injured, the monster taunts the human, stating that the approximate location of the door was already known. Striking the creature, the man hears the monster offer the door's location if he lets